Welcome to my channel, Good Read Self-Growth. Today we will talk about the book Meditations by Marcus Aurelius.
It is genuinely great to be here for this one. Usually when we sit down to do a deep dive into a book, we're dissecting a product.
Product, right. That's a good way to put it.
We're looking at something that was engineered for an audience. An author sits down, they draft an outline, they hire an editor, and they're constantly asking themselves, how do I sell this? Or, how do I persuade the public that I'm the smartest person in the room?
Right, it's a performance. Even the best nonfiction books, the ones we love, they have a bit of theater to them. They have to. They want to hook you.
Exactly. But this text, the stack of notes and translations we are digging into today, this is completely different. It is like an anomaly in the literary world.
Oh, absolutely. That's the first thing that really hit me when I started digging into the research for this deep dive. We walk into a bookstore, we go to the philosophy section, and we buy this book called Meditations. But it really isn't a book, is it?
Not in the traditional sense. Not at all.
It's a diary. And not just any diary. It is the private, unfiltered journal of the most powerful man on the face of the earth at that time.
Precisely. We are talking about Marcus Aurelius. He ruled the Roman Empire from 161 to 180 AD. And, history knows him as Marcus the Wise or the last of the good emperors.
Right.
But what makes Meditations, or as it was literally titled in the original Greek, tai is huton, which translates to things to oneself.
Wow.
Yeah. And what makes it so fascinating is that he never intended for a single soul to read it. He didn't want this published. He wasn't looking for fame from it. This was for him and him alone.
Which feels a little voyeuristic, doesn't it? Like we found his unlocked code and we're scrolling through his private notes app.
It does.
It feels like we were peeking into someone's private therapy session.
It does. And that's what makes it so valuable. Because there is no posturing. There is no attempt to impress. It's raw. It's just a man talking to himself.
Now, before we get too deep into the philosophy, I think we need to ground this in reality. Because for most people, myself included, the image of Marcus Aurelius is, it's Richard Harris in the movie Gladiator.
Oh, of course.
The old tired emperor who loves Russell Crowe and then gets smothered by his ambitious son, Joaquin Phoenix.
Right, the pop culture version. And it's a great movie, don't get me wrong.
Fantastic movie.
But the history is a bit shaky. But that said, the vibe of the character, that weary wisdom, that sense of duty is actually spot on. The real man was a philosopher king in the truest sense of the word.
And these writings, they were compiled during the last 10 years of his life, right? And he wasn't just sitting in a library somewhere.
No, not at all. That's a crucial detail. He was often on military campaigns, sitting in a cold tent near the Danube River, surrounded by the noise and, frankly, the filth of an army camp.
That's the image I want to stick with for a second. He's not sitting in a marble palace, sipping wine and thinking about abstract ideas.
Yeah.
He's out there in the mud. He's seeing blood. He's dealing with logistics and troop morale. And the mission of this deep dive, for you listening, is to figure out how he kept it together. We're going to explore the core pillars of Stoicism found in these pages, specifically the dichotomy of control, how we accept our own mortality, the crushing weight of duty, and this really powerful idea that our perception defines our happiness.
It's a survival guide for the soul. And what I find most compelling and what I hope you really grab onto is that he isn't lecturing us.
No.
He's coaching himself. He's writing these notes to remind himself how to be a good human being when the entire world is trying to corrupt him or break him under unimaginable pressure.
So let's unpack that pressure. Let's talk about the context here, because I think it's easy to dismiss Stoicism. We hear the word Stoic, and we think of someone who is cold, emotionless, maybe someone who's just privileged and has it easy so they can afford to be calm.
Right, the stiff upper lip stereotype.
Exactly. But when you look at the context of chaos that Marcus was living in, that argument it falls apart pretty fast.
Completely. If you think your life is stressful, and look, modern life is incredibly stressful, but if you think you are up against the wall, just take a look at Marcus's reality.
It's a different scale of stress.
He didn't write this in a peaceful garden. He ruled during a period of absolute crisis for the Roman Empire. Just one thing after another.
We're talking about the Parthian War, right? That was the start of it.
That was the start of it, yes. A brutal 6-year conflict with the Parthian Empire in the east. It was incredibly expensive. It drained the treasury. It pulled legions away from other borders, leaving them vulnerable. And it cost thousands and thousands of lives.
A major empire-level war.
Yes. But honestly, the war was the easy part.
How does it get worse than a 6-year war?
Because when the soldiers returned from the east, they brought something back with them. They brought the Antonine Plague.
I saw that in the notes. The numbers are they're staggering.
It was horrific. It's hard for us to even visualize. Estimates suggest it killed approximately 5 million people.
5 million.
In some areas, it wiped out nearly 40% of the population. Can you imagine that? Imagine ruling an empire where almost half the people in certain cities are dying in the streets.
It's biblical. I mean, there are bodies piling up because they can't bury them fast enough. The smell, the fear.
And think about the downstream effects. The economy was collapsing because there weren't enough farmers to harvest crops. The army was weakened because soldiers were dying in their barracks before they even saw a battle.
It sounds like a horror movie.
It was. And on top of that, on top of the war and the plague, there was internal strife. You had betrayals, you had rebellions, you had generals in the provinces thinking, hey, maybe I should be emperor.
The vultures start circling.
Exactly. And you have the rise of Christianity beginning to challenge the traditional Roman order. Everything, literally everything, was falling apart at the seams.
It sounds like the apocalypse.
Yeah.
And yet, here is this man, the emperor. He has absolute power. He could have done what so many other emperors did. Nero, Caligula. He could have retreated into luxury. He could have hidden in a palace, got drunk, and let the world burn. Or he could have become a tyrant out of fear, just executing everyone he suspected. But he didn't.
No, he held the line.
He ruled with power, virtue, and wisdom for nearly 20 years.
And that is the value proposition of this deep dive. That is why we are reading a 2,000-year-old diary today. If this philosophy, Stoicism, could keep an emperor sane while his empire was literally crumbling from plague and war, and while his people were dying by the millions,
Then what can it do for us?
then surely it has practical value for our modern stress, our anxiety, and those feelings of helplessness we all get when we watch the news.
Exactly. If it works in a plague tent on the front lines, it can probably help with a bad commute or a difficult boss.
It's been battle-tested.
It's been battle-tested. So let's get into the machinery of it. How does it work? The first big pillar, and really the heart of Stoicism, is what you mentioned earlier, the dichotomy of control.
This is where it all starts. If you don't get this, you don't get Stoicism. It is the absolute foundation.
So what is it?
The central theme is understanding, and I mean truly understanding, the difference between what is up to you and what is not.
Okay, so let's break down a list. What is not in our control? Because I feel like we overestimate this constantly. We think we control everything.
We do, and it's a long list. So external events are not in your control. The traffic is not in your control. The weather, natural disasters, the economy, none of that is up to you.
Okay, that makes sense. The big stuff.
But it goes deeper. You cannot control your reputation.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
It is. You cannot control fame. You absolutely cannot control what other people think of you. You can influence those things, sure, but you don't control the final outcome. Their opinion is theirs, not yours.
And here's the one that really tripped me up in the research, the one that I wrestled with. The sources say you can't even fully control your own body.
That's the one that people fight against. It feels so counterintuitive.
Right, because I'm thinking, wait a minute. I can go to the gym. I can eat kale. I can get 8 hours of sleep. Of course I control my body.
But do you? I mean, really, you can do all those things. You can be the healthiest person in the room, and you can still develop a genetic condition. You can still get hit by a virus you didn't see coming. You can still trip on a curb and break an ankle. You have influence over your body, for sure, significant influence. But you do not have sovereignty over it.
Sovereignty. That's the word.
It can fail you at any moment despite your best efforts.
That's terrifying and liberating at the same time. It takes the pressure off perfection, I guess.
It does. It allows for grace.
So if all that is out of my hands, my health, my reputation, the traffic, what my boss thinks of my project, what is actually in my control, what's left?
Not much, but it's the only thing that matters.
Which is
Your reactions, your emotions, your character, the choices you make, and living by your virtues. Essentially, your own mind and how it processes the world. That is the only thing that is truly yours.
There was a fantastic analogy in the source material that explains this perfectly. It's the rent and landlord story. I love this because it makes it so concrete and everyday.
It really does. It takes it out of the realm of philosophy and puts it into your checkbook. Why don't you walk us through it?
Okay, so listener, imagine scenario A. You find a house you love. It's perfect. The rent is $1,000. You're happy. But the landlord tells you up front, hey, just so you know, the market is crazy. In a year, I might have to raise it to 1,100.
Okay, so the expectation is set.
The expectation is set. You agree, you sign the lease, you move in. A year passes, the landlord calls and says, hey, just like we talked about, the rent is going up to 1,100.
Okay. In that scenario, you aren't happy about paying more. No one is. But you aren't devastated. You aren't shocked or outraged.
No, not at all. You expected it. You budgeted for the possibility. It's just business. You might be a little annoyed, but you're not emotionally wrecked.
Right.
Now, scenario B, same house, same $1,000 rent. But the landlord doesn't tell you about the increase. He says nothing. You move in thinking this is the price forever.
You've created an expectation in your own mind that isn't based on reality.
Exactly. A year later, he calls and says, rent is 1,100 now.
And chaos ensues.
Right. You're furious, you're screaming, you feel betrayed, you're bad-mouthing the landlord to your friends, you feel like a victim, you're posting angry reviews online. But here is the kicker, and this is the whole point.
The financial reality in both scenarios is identical.
Identical. You are paying $1,100.
That is the crucial insight. The rent increase is neutral. It's just a fact. It's numbers on a page. The suffering, all that anger and betrayal you feel in scenario B comes entirely from your false expectations and your internal reaction.
It doesn't come from the external event.
Not one bit. You manufactured the pain yourself.
It's like we manufacture our own misery because we think we control things we don't, or we expect the world to behave differently than it does. We expect landlords to be nice. We expect traffic to be clear. We expect our bodies never to get sick.
And Marcus would say that if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, your judgment of it. And you have the power to revoke that estimate at any moment.
Revoke the estimate. I love that phrasing.
You can look at the rent increase and say, okay, this is an external event. I can't control it. My choices are I can pay it or I can move, but I do not need to be angry. My anger doesn't lower the rent by a single penny.
It's like deleting a corrupted file in your brain. This leads right into the next section, which is about the power of perception. Because if events are neutral, then our mind is the filter that colors everything.
It's the logical next step. One of the most famous quotes from meditations is, life is what our thoughts make it. Or another version is, the universe is change. Our life is what our thoughts make it. The source material uses the example of rain.
Oh, I relate to this one. I hate getting caught in the rain.
We all do. But let's break it down using this framework. Imagine you get caught in a downpour without an umbrella. A negative interpretation, which is the default for most of us, focuses on the wet clothes, the cold, the discomfort, the ruined hair.
Yeah, my shoes are soaked. My phone might get wet.
And you start thinking, why does this always happen to me? This day is a disaster. The result is misery. And you carry that misery with you for the next hour.
It feels personal, like the clouds targeted you specifically.
Exactly. But a Stoic interpretation looks at the exact same event. It first accepts it. It is raining. I am getting wet. Then it can choose its perception. It can focus on the necessity of rain for nature, for the crops. It can focus on the simple sensation of being alive, the feeling of water on your skin.
Or it can just be neutral.
Or it can just be neutral. That's often the most powerful. I am wet. I will get dry later. This is a temporary inconvenience, not a tragedy. The result: calm, maybe even a strange sense of gratitude.
It's about being unfazed, choosing to be unfazed.
Yes. We often suffer from this illusion of external control. We think, I need to control the weather to be happy, or I need to control the traffic to be calm. A Stoic believes happiness relies entirely on the quality of thoughts you allow in your head. You can't control the rain, but you can control whether you hate the rain.
There's another analogy here that I really liked from the sources, the river and the rock.
This is classic Stoicism. It's such a beautiful image. Think of a river flowing down a mountain.
Okay.
Nature doesn't see obstacles as problems. When a river hits a giant rock, a boulder in its path, it doesn't stop. It doesn't get offended. It doesn't write a strongly worded letter to the mountain.
Right. It doesn't get angry at the rock.
No. It simply adapts. It turns the rock into a visually pleasing rapid. It cuts a new path around it. It goes over it. It goes under it.
It makes the obstacle part of the beauty.
Precisely. The rock becomes part of the river's identity. The obstacle creates the interesting part of the river. This is the concept of the obstacle is the way. A wise person turns defeat into a lesson.
So if you get fired.
It's not just a tragedy. It is painful. Yes, the Stoics aren't about denying pain. But it's also a pivot point. It's an opportunity to practice resilience, to reevaluate your career, to find something that actually suits you better. The obstacle isn't blocking the path. It is the path.
So we've got control over our thoughts, and we're reframing obstacles.
Yeah.
But now we have to talk about the hardest variable in the universe, other people.
Ah, yes. The variable that tests Stoicism the most. The ultimate challenge.
Seriously. It's easy to be a Stoic in a quiet room with a cup of tea. It's much, much harder to be a Stoic when someone is criticizing you or gossiping about you or trolling you online.
Yeah.
How does Marcus handle the haters?
Well, his approach is fascinating. He starts by analyzing the source of the criticism. He says to look inward at the critic.
What do you mean?
The sources bring up a really modern thought experiment here that fits perfectly. Imagine Elon Musk or Bill Gates or anyone you consider truly successful, busy, and fulfilled taking 20 minutes out of their day to leave a nasty, anonymous comment on your social media calling you names.
It's impossible to imagine. It's laughable.
Why? Why is it hard to imagine?
Because they're busy. They're running companies. They're building rockets. They're solving global health problems. They don't have time to troll me.
Exactly. Successful, happy, well-adjusted people do not have the time or the inclination to tear others down. So, by definition, the source of most petty criticism is almost always someone who is miserable.
Someone who is hurting.
Someone who is hurting, someone who is insecure, someone whose own life is in disarray. Marcus says if someone criticizes you, penetrate their souls and look at what kind of life they lead.
That's brutal but true. When you do that, you realize their opinion holds no weight because they haven't figured out their own life.
Yeah.
It's like taking financial advice from someone who is bankrupt. Why would you take life advice from someone who is emotionally bankrupt?
There's a story one of the commentators shares about his grandmother. It's a bit sad, but it drives the point home perfectly.
Oh, what's the story?
He said she spent her entire day on the phone, gossiping, complaining about neighbors, worrying about who slept with whom, what the government did wrong. She knew every detail about everyone else's life.
And she was miserable, I'm guessing.
Completely miserable. And she did nothing right herself. Her own house was a mess. Her own finances were a wreck. The lesson there isn't just don't be like grandma. It's about focus.
Where you put your energy.
Exactly. The lesson is don't waste time watching what the neighbors do. Look only at what you do. How much time does a person gain when they stop worrying about what their neighbor says or thinks or does and focuses only on making their own actions just and holy?
It's an efficiency argument in a way.
Yeah.
Hating takes so much energy. Gossip takes so much energy. But Stoicism isn't just about ignoring people, right? It's not a sociopathic philosophy. Marcus talks a lot about the social duty.
Oh, absolutely not. That's a huge misconception.
We aren't supposed to be hermits living in a cave.
No, humans are social animals. We are meant to live and work together. Marcus uses the image of the beehive constantly. He says, what injures the hive injures the bee.
I like that.
You cannot hurt others without hurting yourself. You can't damage your community, your family, your company without that damage eventually coming back to you. We are interconnected.
But here's where the rubber meets the road. What about betrayal? Because the source material mentions that even if you're good to the hive, sometimes a bee stings you. People backstab. People lie. It happens.
Betrayal is as common as friendship itself. It's part of the human condition. And Marcus says when you are betrayed, you shouldn't be surprised.
Back to the rent analogy.
It's exactly the rent analogy. If you expect people to be flawed, if you understand that people often act out of fear, greed, or ignorance, their own flawed natures, you won't be shocked when they act according to their nature. You don't get mad at a fig tree for producing figs. You shouldn't be shocked when a flawed person acts flawed.
Okay, so you're not surprised. But what's the reaction? Do we get revenge? Do we crush them? Because he was the emperor, he could have crushed them.
He could have, but he has a very specific take on revenge. He says the ultimate revenge is not to be like your enemy.
That's a drop the mic moment. Read that again.
The best revenge is not to be like your enemy.
Wow.
It is. If you retaliate with anger, if you scream, if you plot against them, you become just as ugly as the person who hurt you. You've allowed them to drag you down to their level. You degrade your own character.
So what's the Stoic response?
Convert the enemy if you can, through reason and kindness, or distance yourself if you can't. But at all costs, maintain your own virtue. Assume they are misguided rather than evil. Treat them with kindness where possible, not because they deserve it.
But because you are a kind person, it's about protecting your own integrity, not fixing them.
Exactly. Your character is in your control. Theirs is not.
That leads us nicely to the idea of duty. Because sometimes being a good person or just doing your job is, well, it's hard. It's a grind. And I was surprised and honestly relieved to learn that even a Roman emperor struggled to get out of bed in the morning.
The battle of the bed. It is one of the most relatable passages in the entire text. It's incredible. Marcus writes about waking up in the warm blankets. It's cold outside the tent. He knows the day is going to be full of problems and annoying people.
I mean, that is every single morning for most people.
It is. And he thinks, "Oh, I don't want to get up. I just want to stay here. It's comfortable."
I feel that on a spiritual level. Every Monday morning,
We all do. But then he doesn't just give in. He engages in this internal dialogue. He coaches himself. He asks himself, was I created to huddle under blankets and stay warm? Is that the purpose of my existence?
that's a pretty big question to ask yourself at 6 a.m.
It is. But he continues, or was I born to do the work of a human being? He's challenging his own laziness by appealing to his nature.
He's reminding himself of his purpose.
Yes. He looks at nature. He says, look at the birds, the ants, the spiders, the bees. They are all working. They are all fulfilling their purpose in the grand scheme of things. He asks himself, and you refuse to do your part. You don't love your own nature. It's about work with purpose.
Not just busy work.
No. Effort without direction is wasted. But effort with direction in service to the hive is what we are made for.
He has this other phrase, do every act as if it were your last. That sounds a bit morbid at first, but in this context, it feels like a call for focus.
It's not about doom and gloom. It's about integrity. If this email was the last email you ever wrote, would you make it petty and sarcastic? If this conversation was your last, would you spend it arguing?
No, you'd want it to be meaningful.
You'd want to do it with your full attention and virtue. If you are honest and true in your work, you have nothing to fear from the outcome or from death.
And that brings up the topic of integrity. The sources mention that Marcus chose honest officers and prioritized ethics over political maneuvering, which was rare.
Very rare. He believed that if you are truthful, you are invincible in a way. You don't have to keep track of lies. Your life becomes simpler. And he viewed things like money as indifference.
What does that mean, indifference?
It means they are a neutral tool. Money isn't good or bad. Health isn't good or bad. They're just tools. It's how you use them that defines you. A Stoic can be rich and a Stoic can be poor. The money doesn't matter. The character of the person holding the money matters.
Okay, we have to tackle a big one now, the one that scares most people, but seemed to give Marcus a lot of peace. The acceptance of mortality. Memento mori.
Remember, you must die. In our modern world, death is a taboo. We hide it in hospitals. We don't talk about it at dinner parties. We use euphemisms. We pretend it's not going to happen to us.
We act like it's an optional event.
Exactly. But for Marcus, surrounded by plague and war, death was as natural as a season changing. It wasn't a failure. It was just a process, a part of nature.
There's a really interesting logical argument he makes about death. He says the person who lives longest and the person who dies young lose the exact same thing, which sounds crazy at first.
It does. It's a fascinating piece of logic. It takes a minute to wrap your head around it. He argues that you cannot lose the past because it is already gone. It's a memory.
Right, it's not yours anymore.
And you cannot lose the future because you don't have it yet. It's not guaranteed. The only thing you truly possess is the present moment, the split second right now.
So when you die,
whether you are 20 years old or 80 years old, you are only losing the present moment because that is all anyone ever has. The loss is equal.
that actually makes a strange kind of sense. It takes the weight off the idea of missing out on a long life.
Yeah.
You can't miss out on what you never had.
It centers you on the now. It makes this moment incredibly precious. And there is a powerful anecdote about Marcus addressing his soldiers before a battle. They were terrified. They were facing the Parthians. They were facing almost certain death.
What did he tell them? Don't worry about it.
No, not at all. He didn't offer them false hope. He told them that fear is just a state of mind. He reminded them that they are all walking toward the same destiny regardless of the battle. Whether they die today on the field or 30 years later in a warm bed from old age, the destination is the same.
Death is the destination.
Death is the destination. And the shift was that instead of freezing in fear of the destination, they could accept it.
And what does that acceptance do?
It frees you. Once you accept that death is inevitable, you stop being afraid of when it happens and you start caring deeply about how you live while you are here. It frees you to live with honor and courage right now.
It creates urgency.
Yes, that's the perfect word. Realizing life is short stops you from wasting time on petty arguments, on jealousy, on procrastination. Marcus has this concept of a borrowed life. He says, live as if you have already died and the time you have left is a bonus.
That changes everything.
Yeah.
If today is a bonus day, a gift, I'm not going to spend it fighting with a stranger on the internet.
You wouldn't dream of it. You'd spend it doing something meaningful with people you love.
So we've covered the philosophy, which is heavy and profound. But I want to get practical before we wrap up. How do we actually do this? The sources gave us some specific exercises that Marcus used or that modern Stoics use.
Right, the practical application. The first and most important is self-reflection or journaling. It's what this entire book is. Marcus wrote in the mornings, but many Stoics, like Seneca, suggested a nightly review.
And audit your day.
Exactly. You sit down before bed just for 5 minutes and you ask yourself a few questions. What did I do right today, according to my own values?
Okay.
Where did I let my emotions take over? Did I lose my temper in traffic? Did I envy someone's success? And most importantly, how can I improve tomorrow? What's one small thing I can do better?
And this isn't about guilt, right? It's not about beating yourself up for getting angry.
No, that's key. It's self-investigation without judgment. It's like a scientist looking at data. Ah, interesting. At 3 p.m., my anger spiked. Why was that? You're just observing your own machinery so you can tune it better for the next day.
Another exercise mentioned is willing acceptance. This feels tied to the dichotomy of control.
It is. It's the active practice of it. It's accepting the world as it is, not as you wish it to be. If the bus is late, the bus is late. You can stand there and fume, wishing the bus system was better, raising your blood pressure, ruining your own morning.
Yeah.
Or you can practice willing acceptance. You say to yourself, the bus is late. This is an external event I cannot control. I will use this time to listen to a podcast or just breathe.
Getting angry doesn't make the bus arrive faster.
It never does. It only poisons your own peace.
And finally, there was a mention of breathing and physical control.
Right, the mind-body connection. The source mentions using breathing exercises to generate focus and even a kind of adrenaline when feeling lethargic or lazy. Control the body to control the mind. Sometimes you have to physically calm your nervous system with a few deep breaths before you can think clearly and rationally.
Okay, let's unpack this whole journey. We've covered a lot of ground. It's a huge philosophy.
It is. It's a lifetime practice.
If we summarize the pillars for everyone listening to make it really clear, it comes down to this. First, control. Know what is yours, your mind, your reactions, and what isn't everything else. Stop fighting with reality. Second, mortality. Accept it. Don't fear it. Use it as fuel for your present actions.
Yes.
Third, duty. Get out of the blankets. Do your job. Serve the hive.
Find your purpose.
And finally, happiness. It's an inside job. It's not out there somewhere. It's defined by your interpretation of events.
That is the essence of it. It's an internal operating system for a difficult world.
I want to leave our listeners with a final provocative thought from the sources. It's about the neutrality of the universe.
Yes, the universe is neutral. It doesn't hate you or love you. It doesn't care about your promotion. It just is.
And there's a quote from Marcus: people are created for one another. Either teach them better or bear with them.
That's the challenge. You have two choices with difficult people. Teach or tolerate.
So here's the question for you to take with you. Ask yourself, if you treated every annoyance today, the traffic jam, a rude email, a loud noise from your neighbor, not as a personal attack, but just as a neutral event like rain falling, how much energy would you save?
A lot, I suspect. A whole lot.
Be the emperor of your own mind.
Thanks for listening.